Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to Chef Vic Cuisine. Today we're making croissants. Now I wanted to save this recipe for my 5th cookbook because this is the epitome of French pastry craftsmanship. Here we're gonna have layers and layers of flaky dough that melt in your mouth with every bite. There are a lot of steps to creating this buttery pastry dish. I can't wait to dive into those. So without further ado, let's get started. All right, let's dive into this recipe. It's a lot of simple ingredients. The challenge is all the steps you need to do to make the croissants. So starting off with making the dough, in a large bowl, you want to mix together 1 1/4 cups worth of whole milk that's been warmed to 80 degrees Fahrenheit with 1 cup of water warmed to the same temperature. After those are mixed, you want to add in 5 3/4 cups worth of bread flour, 1/2 cup's worth of granulated white sugar, 1 tablespoon plus 1 1/2 teaspoons worth of kosher salt, 1 tablespoon of high quality instant yeast, and 1 1/2 tablespoons worth of unsalted butter that's been cubed and softened to room temperature. Gently mixing those until the dough initially comes together. You then want to form the dough into a rough ball and then place this ball back into the bowl once it's been greased. And if the dough is still sticky, you can also add more flour as you form the dough ball. You want to cover the bowl with plastic wrap and allow the dough to rise until it's risen to about twice its size. This should take about an hour's time at room temperature. Once that time is up, you want to punch the dough down to release all that trapped air. You're now going to transfer the dough onto a sheet of plastic wrap and roll out the dough into roughly an 8 by 8 inch square. We're going to wrap this square of dough with plastic wrap tightly and then place it in the fridge to chill for at least 3 hours or even overnight. And while the dough chills, you can prepare your butter block. Now, another important step to making croissants is creating a butter block. You want to place a large piece of parchment paper onto a working surface, the long side of it facing you. You want to place the sliced butter in a 4 by 2 even layer at the center of the parchment paper. And for this recipe, you're going to use 2 cups worth of unsalted, high quality European style butter. And you want to slice those butter sticks into 1/4 inch thick sticks lengthwise. So they should have this type of shape. The block you make should be roughly 9 by 5 inches. You want to fold the edges of the parchment paper over the butter to fully encase it. And then you want to flip the butter block upside down so that the seams of the parchment paper are facing down. Allow this to reach room temperature, which should take about 30 minutes. And then you want to use a rolling pin to roll over the parchment paper to evenly distribute the butter around the square and fill the seams between the butter slices. You want to place this into the fridge to chill until it's ready to be used, once the square of dough has chilled. Now, when you're ready to roll out the dough, you want to remove the dough square and the butter block and allow them to soften to room temperature for about 15 to 20 minutes. They should have the same temperature and texture before you roll them. You want to lightly flour a working surface and place the dough square down first. You want to dust the top of the dough square and your rolling pin to roll out the dough square into a rectangle that's roughly 20 by 6 inches wide. The short dimension should be about 1 inch wider than the width of your butter block. You want to remove the butter block from the parchment paper and then place the butter at the bottom edge of this dough rectangle. The sides and bottom of the butter block should be about 1/2 inch from the edge of the dough. You want to gently fold the top half of the dough over the butter block, stretching the edges of the dough to close the seams of the dough, sealing in the butter block. Use the palm of your hand to do this sealing process. You can then turn the dough 90 degrees so it looks like a closed book with the spine of the book or the folded edge facing left. You want to lightly flour the top surface of this dough and use a rolling pin to gently press the dough all over to help us spread the butter within it more easily. You can use a serrated knife to slice the spine side to release the tension in the dough before using the rolling pin. Then you want to turn the dough 90 degrees again so that the long sliced side is facing you. And roll out the dough away from you until it's about 12 inches long initially, and then you want to dust the dough and working surface with flour again and roll it out until it's 24 inches long and about a 1/4 inch thick. You want to fold the bottom third portion of the dough up over the middle of the dough and then take the top third portion over that layer to create a 3-layer thick fold, making sure that all the corners meet to create a uniform block. If the butter begins to seep out of the dough, you can always return this to the fridge to allow it to firm up a bit before proceeding. Now with the opening of the fold facing you, you want to lightly flour the rolling pin and the dough before rolling it out again until it's about 1/4 inch thick, 24 inches long, and about 12 inches wide. And now optionally, after you've rolled it out to this dimension, if needed, you can use a pastry wheel or a sharp knife to remove the excess dough from the edges to create an even rectangle. I didn't do it for this video, but always feel free to do though. You want to rotate the dough 90 degrees again so the long side is facing you. You want to fold the left 2/3 portion of the dough over the middle part of the dough, and then next fold the right 1/3 portion of the dough over the dough to the left so that the edges meet on top. This should look like an offset book. Now, once more, you want to fold the left side of the dough over to meet the right edge of the dough, creating a 4-fold layer this time. At this stage, cover the dough with plastic wrap and place it in the fridge to relax the gluten and chill the butter, which should take about 30 minutes. And while the dough is chilling again, you want to line 2 large baking sheets with parchment paper. And now on a lightly floured surface, we want to add our rested dough, removing the plastic wrap. Roll the dough out once more to a 1/4 inch thick, 24 inches long, and 12 inches wide. Once again, as an option, you can use a pastry wheel or sharp knife to trim away any excess dough to even out the rectangle again. Now you want to use a ruler to measure 3 inches from the top left corner and mark the top edge with an indentation. You want to use a pastry wheel to cut from that mark to the bottom left corner to create an acute triangle. Next, you want to measure 3 inches to the right from the new bottom left corner and use a pastry wheel to cut from that point straight up to create another triangle. You want to repeat this pattern until all the dough is cut into triangles. With this recipe, there should be enough dough to create about 10 to 12 triangles. You want to use a pastry wheel or a sharp knife to cut a 1/2 inch slice at the center of the base of each triangle. This releases the tension of the dough before you roll it. Now you want to gently yet tightly roll the dough up from the sliced base to the tip of the triangle, making sure not to compress the dough as you roll. Place these rolled up croissants onto the prepared baking sheets, each sheet having 5 to 6 croissants. You'll want to pour boiling water into 2 small bowls or ramekins and place them onto the baking sheet alongside the croissants. This is needed to create a humid environment for the dough as they proof. Now you want to lightly cover the pans completely with plastic wrap. Allow these croissants to proof until the dough is softened and puffed and the dough slightly wobbles. This will take about 2 to 3 hours. You want to place one oven rack in the upper third portion of the oven and place another oven rack in the lower third portion of the oven. And preheat this oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit or 176 degrees Celsius. And now carefully place a rectangular baking pan of boiling water on the bottom of your oven. This creates steam as the croissants bake. After the proofing time is passed, you want to remove the plastic wrap from the croissants and in a small bowl, whisk together 1 egg and 1 tablespoon's worth of heavy cream thoroughly to create an egg wash. Brush each croissant with the egg wash and transfer these to the oven. 1 tray on the upper third oven rack and another tray on the lower third oven rack. You want to bake these for 30 minutes, but make sure you swap the pans halfway through the bake, both from the top and the bottom, and also rotating the pans 180 degrees so that the back of the trays are now facing the front. The croissants, when they're done, will have a golden brown finish. After the cooking time, you want to transfer the croissants to a wire rack and allow these to cool completely before serving, which should take about 20 minutes. And I find them best to be served with butter or honey. And with that, you've made croissants right at home. You can always try filling the croissants with chocolate or almond paste before rolling them up, and that creates a heavenly twist on this classic pastry. I cannot wait for you guys to try this at home. When you do, be sure to tag me at Chef Vic Cuisine or hashtag Chef Vic Cuisine so I can see your great takes on this dish. As always, this recipe and many more can be found in my cookbook, Chef Vic Cuisine Volume 5, Mastering Your Inner Chef. And that's available on Amazon, and I'll be sure to leave a link to that in my description box. And feel free to click the pop-up on your screen for more information on that as well. Thank you all so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed learning how to make croissants. And if you did, make sure you smash that like button for me. It's one of the best ways to show support for the channel. And if you haven't done so already, make sure you click that subscribe button too to see more recipes just like this one. And sharing is caring, so if you enjoyed this recipe and think someone else will too, feel free to share this with all your family and friends. And stay tuned for next week where I show you how to make a great appetizer or side dish originating from Spain, my gazpacho recipe. Well, thank you all again so much for watching. I truly do appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed this recipe. You can always check out more on my page now. YouTube thinks you'll like these videos, so let's see if they're right. And I'll catch you next time on another episode of Chef Vic Cuisine. And until then, peace.